Hi,
Hello.
how are you?
Good.
Just want to share about how we met because I've never done anything like this, but so I was at a concert and I remember seeing you dancing in the front.
Aw.
And we were just like, who is that girl in the front? Because I can't hear it. And I just remember thinking like, whoa, I wish I could dance like that. But I'd always been like the person that was like the wallflower. Like I just remember like sixth grade, seventh grade, eighth grade, like 10th grade, all throughout high school and college. Like if I ever went to a party with music, I was like plastered against the wall. And I didn't think there was anything wrong with it. Like I just like kind of enjoyed watching people dance, but like I was so shy and like terrified of moving. And then I just remembered watching you like feeling like so free in your body. And I was just like, whoa, like I wish I could feel that way. And I wish I could just like be free like that. And I remember like actually one day like asking you,
Yeah.
like remember somehow we got in touch at that show, but
Yeah.
I remembered asking you like if there was any way that you could teach me how to dance the way that you dancing, and I thought it was the strangest thing I'd ever asked. And lucky for me, you actually said that you were a teacher and a coach, and you you were teaching people how to break out of their shell. So
Yeah.
you really changed my life in profound ways, and I'd love to like ask you if you could talk a little bit about that. If you could share a little bit, like how would you get somebody who's a wallflower to break out of their own shell and move and let go?
Okay. Okay. It's is it okay if I answer why I do what I do first? Because I
Yes,
think it might help. Okay.
go for it.
So, one of the reasons why I have been called to do this work is that since I was a little kid, I was always an outcast. I heard Alanis Morissette many years ago say the word HSP, this like highly sensitive person. And I was like, oh, that's me. And it was like the one thing that resonated with me, like out of all the disorder, it's not disorder, blessings. Like some disorders don't sit well with me, whether it's a trigger or it just doesn't make sense to me. Like that everyone's in these boxes, like ADHD is like with a lot of people in my family and our genetic pool being an Ashkenazi Jew, like anxiety disorder, bipolar, depressive disorder, like, there's all these boxes, but HSP to me feels very natural and organic, and that a lot of people could fit into that. And I think we all do fit into a lot of these different things at any point. But I was always an HSP. Like things always affected me, probably similarly to you. Like
Mhm.
all the things you ever tell me that I am, like you wrote that beautiful article on me, and I still am like overwhelmed when I think about it. I sometimes would like cry, like everything you say about me I see in you, and I think what we see in others, we really do have a piece in ourselves, and to whatever degree is the more passionate we feel. So like everything you just said about me I could easily say about you. Like when I learned more about you, Evie, like it was like, oh, she's that girl. Like I'm glad I didn't know that about you before I met you, because I would have been like more intimidated. Because you're so cool and such a free spirit and such an HSP in like the best way, and so empathetic. Anyway, but getting back to me, um, I just feel like since I was since I can remember, I've always felt like a little bit of a I don't fit in here. And at 9, I found myself working with little kids on my street right here in South Florida, because I just moved back home. And so all these memories are coming back. It's like, oh, I've actually been doing this work. I thought I was doing this work since 19. I've actually been doing it since I was 9 years old.
Wow.
And it just comes so naturally to me to like hold up, I call it the magic mirror, and like show people like how amazing they are. Because no matter how weird I felt, I could always tell when someone felt weird too. And I could be like, no, 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 you're actually really magical and amazing. Like, look, look, look. And then they'd be like, oh, thanks. And then they'd have these like wings and then they'd fly away. So whether I was at, a camp teaching theater or on my block, it was always like around performance, whether it was dance or even like painting. But like, so now I teach this course called Find Creative Clarity, and it's for grownups. And now I'm teaching teen girls the same thing. And it's like, these are, everything you just said is what everyone's feeling just at different points in their life or in different points of the day, really, right? Whether you just gave birth and you're feeling like this, like, oh my God, like I have this being to take care of and I have no clue and I'm going to screw it up and, all that stuff. Or, you're like 10 and now you're double digits. And what does that mean? You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't really matter. Like, we're always kind of trying to fit into these boxes or bubbles that somehow we don't. So I hope that helps, because I feel like it's so important to know why people do things instead of just being like, well, this is what I do. I hope that makes sense. So yeah, I feel really passionately about holding up mirrors for each other. And then I try to help everyone in the room or the group or the circle that I'm working in do the same thing for each other. Cause that's all a good teacher is, I think, or a good coach is just someone who keeps holding up a mirror and being like, hey, check this out. Does that make sense?
It totally makes sense.
Okay. And so once we have that established in the room that it's a safe space to hold up a mirror for each other, or I'm doing it for one person at a time, because I also do private coaching, whether it's teaching voice, like for the singer, or I taught a multimillionaire how to give a TED talk. Like, people come to me and they're just like, I have no confidence in this area. Help me, or voiceover, or creative writing. So I try to establish that it's a safe space to be held with a mirror. And then there's always a block. Like, to the extent that we are just aware of our blockages, then we can actually be free. But there's nothing wrong with having blocks. It's just how we operate, as people, as artists, and everyone's an artist. Whoever's listening to this right now, who's like, yeah, that's great that like Barb does voices for Disney, and, Evey's like this incredible fashionista who makes like lit up bridal gowns. But I'm not like that. I don't do things like that. It's like, no, actually, if you just search your memory bank a tiny bit, a teensy weeny scotch, like you'll find that you actually could do stand-up comedy, or, I happen to do like 10 things, but we all could, if we just tried. And I actually welcome blocks. I think, I'm a very structured person, as free spirited as I am. I think it's important to embrace your blocks and love them, and like get in touch with them, and just be aware. And like, as soon as you shine a light on it, like for you, I can't really remember what it was that was blocking you. And I also tend to forget all the negative stuff that people come to me with, because I don't really see it after that. And even when I see it, I'm like, oh, cool. So now that you know what it is, let's release it. So I think the first one is getting in touch and knowing that you have a block. And then the second thing is drawing it out, or singing it out, or dancing it out. I remember with us in that, if I'm remembering properly, like I gave you different songs to move to, and I asked you to close your eyes because that is helpful. But, once you could just be free with the music with me, then you were like, okay, I think I'll be okay. Like and I was like, well, stop thinking about it and just feel your way through. And then we did some exercises about what the blocks were. And I kind of want to talk about another student that it was just very prevalent and very like kind of simple. And if that's okay, just sort of straightforward. So there was this one guy who came to me. He was a very religious young man. He was like 22. And he was always a great singer. This is like one of my favorite stories of people I worked with privately. It was actually around the time that you came to me, and his dad, who's actually a rabbi, came to me and he was like, my son, let's call him Jesse. He's like, Jesse can't sing anymore. And it's breaking our heart at the Shabbat table, because like, this is a very religious family who like would look forward. So it's such a beautiful thing, right? To Halavai, like my family should be like this. Like, they sit and they sing at the Shabbos table every week. It's like such a gorgeous thing to practice, whether you're any religion. They would like once a week sit together. And he's like, he comes to the table and his vocal cords, they're like busted or something. Like, I don't know. And I'm like, don't say that around me. No busting. Your words are your reality. Stop. Take it. Tell him to come to my studio and we'll just like do some work. So he shows up. and he's sweating, and, we had to keep the door open, somewhat, because he's like this super religious guy. And I'm like, no problem. And I'm like fully, clothed up or whatever. And I'm like, don't worry, I'm not going to touch you, but I'm going to talk to you about what's going on in here. And so I put my hand like as close as I could get to his throat without being uncomfortable. And I said, what's in there? And he's like, my throat. And I was like, okay, let's do, I can tell there's resistance here. We're going to figure out what's blocking your voice. And so we sit down, he's got his, head and his back up against the wall, and we do like this mindful meditation. And within seconds, he's able to tell me what's in front of his vocal cords. And it was a barbed wire fence, and the tears just start streaming down his face. And I said, what do you think it is? And then we drew it out. Well, an hour and a half later, he has a twin brother. And a year ago, his brother got engaged, and he's been married. No, he started dating a girl a year ago, and then he got married, like, I don't know, within like 6 months. And then bada bing, like Orthodox, they're married, whatever. And so for the last 6 months, because it was like a 6-month turnaround time, his brother left the house. He's stuck at home with his parents. And this twin brother lost his voice at the wedding. And it never came back. And I said, what do you think is in there? I said, just stay with me a little longer. And he said, my brother took my voice. He's like, we were always together. And like at his wedding, like he moved on, and I'm still at home, and like I'm stuck behind this fence. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing, And so for you, it was moving your body. For him, it was a decision he made about his voice, because it was his biggest pleasure. And maybe that's kind of tied in with harmonize. I was like, did you harmonize with your brother? He's like, yeah, he'd always take the top part and I would take the bottom harmonies. And so he felt like this, without his brother. And I think sometimes we punish ourselves, whether it's with food, this happens with like a lot of women, some tragedy happens, and like Candace Owens, I heard her talk recently, because I've been watching all this political stuff, right, left, center, everything. And like somehow, like on YouTube the other day, I saw Candace Owens had a problem with eating. And like, I don't know if you know her story, but her life was threatened. And so, this is not supposed to be a political thing, but I'm just saying, so it's like public information that she had an eating disorder for like, I don't know, a year after that happened, because someone told her they were going to kill her.
Right.
Well, so she wound up like not eating. And she was like, the reason I did that is because it was the only thing I could control. And it's weird, because you think like you have to eat. Why? Like if you're alive and, the guy didn't kill you, then why would you take that away from yourself? And it's like, well, trauma is real, and it shows up in pain bodies in our body. And so for an artist, or even anyone who wants to express themselves, whether they're dancing or they're singing, or I guess in her case, she'd be a speechwriter because she is like a public speaker, we all can find ways to cut off our creativity and our pleasure centers, because we're trying to protect ourselves. So they're kind of like connected in that way.
Yeah.
And it was so amazing, because of course I had to give him practical tools for his physical body, like get off of spicy foods for a while and make sure you're super hydrated, and go on vocal rest for like a few days, and stop whispering. And there's lots of things you can do to actually help your vocal cords physically. But within weeks, he was back to his voice. He just had to like get
the block.
Yeah. So I think really like embracing your blocks and loving them. And then of course, Byron Katie has this idea that she was once blind, and or close to being blind, and she was about to have surgery. And I love this story. This is like one of my favorite stories about physical healing, because it's so from here, like it all starts in the brain. So Byron Katie is amazing. If you don't know her work, I use it all the time in my classes, but she has these 4 questions called the work. And one of the things that happened with her was that she was about to have eye surgery. And it was like either the morning of or like 2 days before her eye surgery. And she was going blind. And she's like, she believes in, the power of the divine. So she was like, divine, God, the Schwartz, whatever you want to call it. I don't get it. Like, we have to work together, and I need to go out into the world and see people and look at them. And like, I really believe, I mean, I'll deal with it. I'll, whatever it is that you need from me. If I have to be like a leader for the blind, fine. But I'd really love to be able to have my sight. And she was like making a case for it.
Mm.
And then it kind of occurred to her that the blindness had to be a teacher itself. And so she said to the blindness, dear blindness, thank you so much for coming and entering my body and like making me appreciate that I can see so much. And then she said, you're invited to leave.
Mm.
And so with that, she was able to really let it go. And she canceled her surgery. Like her sight started to come back slowly, and now it's like fully back.
Wow.
And so we may have done that in our session, but I know I did it with him too. It was like I told him to tell the barbed wire that they could leave. Like, thank you for coming. I know you were trying to protect me and, give me strength during this difficult time, but I'm really ready to move on now. And then the most awesome thing about this particular gentleman is that within like a year he was married.
Wow.
So yeah, I hope that helps. I don't know.
That's so amazing. Okay, so identify block and then pretty much tell it is welcome to leave. I love it.
Yeah. But also like really exactly love it. Like I think that a lot of healing happens because we realize that whatever the catalyst for the healing is actually a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
I talk about that on my podcast a lot, See One Beautiful Soul, instead of looking at the person that you can't stand as the enemy, really take on seeing them as a beautiful soul that's actually connected to you. Like it's one flesh. Because I follow Matt Kahn. I don't know if you know who he is. He's like this powerful, Hay House type of speaker. But he says that, and I really believe this, he says that if every single person on planet Earth, this kind of thought is the kind of thing that makes me cry. And I do think about this a lot, and I pray for it like every day, as cheesy as it sounds, but like, who cares? I'm not going to fit in anyway. So I might as well do the thing that I want everyone to do. He's like, take your hand. And if you're listening right now, really like pull over or whatever you need to do to like stop and just be intentional about this. And he's like, put your hand on your heart and just take a deep breath in and say, I love myself. I love everything that's been brought to me. And I love everyone on the planet. He said that if we all, I'm probably going to start crying in a second, but he's like, if every single person took a moment and really believed that and did that at the exact same second, right now, in real time, there'd be no fossil fuel problems. There'd be no war. We would have no issues with China, Russia, like all the stuff that's in the news. It would vanish. And the reason that it's not happening is because there is so much resistance to that. Mm-hmm. But he's like, if everyone did that for 1 second, like but everyone would have to be in agreement with it, then like, all it would take is 1 second, but like to get and it's a utopian idea, but I really believe that.
It's awesome. You know what? You made me realize something really crazy. So I've had vertigo for the last year, like solid for a year, and it's been awful. And it literally hit me last October. And it was so bad that there were like months that literally I was just in bed because I could barely even walk. Like I felt like I was on a boat all the time. And like it literally made me hit rock bottom. Like I've never like felt so low and dark ever. But it's interesting because now that I'm like finally like out of it or coming mostly out of it, like I really see that I needed to go there. I needed to feel that way so that I could realize that this is what I want to do with my life. It's amazing.
Yeah.
I realize like now I'm like working to like help people pull themselves out of the darkness. And I feel like if I hadn't had that experience, like I wouldn't have known how to do that and been able to go back and retrace those steps of how I pulled myself out. So it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's like exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, I had this incredible blessing to and honor to work with a lady a year ago named Brandon Bays. I don't know if you've heard of her, but she had a tumor the size of a basketball in her belly, and then
Oh.
she was able to like get rid of it through healing meditation. And she used to work with Tony Robbins, and she's like written all these books and like been all over the world, and she's an incredible healer. And I had to meet her in person because I was like, wait a minute, like I just even if this is like partially true, I just want to meet this person who like did it all from the brain, you know? And so I had this honor of like working with her for 4 days with 100 other women. And that was where the song that I wrote, You Are Gold, came from. It came within a meditation that I did on my heart that was inside of one of the days that I was with her. So if you haven't heard You Are Gold, please go listen to it on YouTube. It's the most important thing I ever did. It's about all souls matter. It's Black lives. It's everything. It's like, it's the most important thing. And it's not me. I was completely like, not really in the experience. It was just me like kind of opening up to talk about getting out of your own way. But anyway, besides me having this incredible experience in one of her meditations, she said something so powerful. And I don't even know, look, at the end of the day, like I'm not a CIA agent. I don't know her medical records, but apparently she's been through cancer, incest, rape, like you name it, like a fire in her house, husband cheated on her and left her, bankruptcy, anything under the sun, she had it happen. I think the only thing she didn't have, and please God, don't test her, but it was like an autoimmune disease, but she works with people who have autoimmune, but like every other thing, burns, like, you know, her mom tried to kill her. Like, I mean, it was like insane, like so many things. And yet when she would come up on stage to talk every day, it felt like there were like 50 lights shining out of her face, like her facial muscles, and just, you had to like experience her, you know? And I was like, is this lady for real? And I'm like, as naive and innocent and imaginative and Willy Wonka as I am, like I definitely have that other part of my brain that's like, wait a minute, you know, I'm like waiting for the shoe to drop, and like I've been screwed before, you know. And then it was like day 2 or day 3, she said, I always thank the universe for every single thing that I've had. And I'm like, yeah, right, come on. And then she said, because if there was one thing off the list that I just told you over the last 3 days, I couldn't help somebody in this audience. But because I've been through it, I can say I've been there. I know what that feels like. And then it just kind of hit me. I was like, oh, like that's why she's so good at healing other people, because she had to do it herself through all these things, you know? So yeah, I mean, I wholeheartedly agree with what you said.
Awesome. Thank you, Barb.
You're welcome. I hope that was helpful. I know I told a lot of stories, but
no, it was so helpful. It was so helpful. I have chills listening to everything that you said, and like I just like I also have chills like thinking about how much you've helped me on my own journey of like, you know, getting out of my own way and breaking out of my shell. I mean, there have been multiple times. I mean, like even on my journey as an artist. I mean, I met you like
wow.
I met you, you know, when I was in my 20s, and I wanted to like be a freer person, and like you helped me like do that. And then I remember like there was a time I was meeting with you with one of your groups with the creative artists, and like literally after we talked once, we had like one or two conversations, and like I wrote 2 or 3 books after that. I mean, you just like inspired me to like get up and move. I moved to a different house after I talked to you. Like I just feel like you're such a catalyst, and you're such like an amazing soul that literally just shines so much light on people, and you are such a mirror. Like I feel like you help me see, and you help so many other people just like see exactly what's going on and exactly who they are, and like where they are and where they want to be, and like just kind of give them the tools to go, and it's amazing. So
Thank you. Can you please make my next commercial? Because I want to get like tons of people in my next class. Thank you. That means so much to me. I mean, honestly, that is really all I want to do to help other people. And of course, you know, keep creating on my own. Some people are like, why are you still making art if like you're trying to coach other people? I'm like, no, that's why. Because they both bring me so much pleasure. And I kind of got into this because I couldn't pick just one thing. Like, I wrote a children's book this summer and made 2 music videos, and, I still do voiceover for cartoons. And, I can't stop creating. I like, maybe it's because my name means child of creativity in Hebrew, Barbara, but I love when, if I'm not creating, then I want to help other people, be creating. And so the fact that you get that about me just means a lot, because it's something I can't stop doing, and it's nice to be appreciated.
You
I
got
might not have $1 million, but it's, it is the thing that makes me really happy and fulfilled. So,
well, whatever makes you happy, keep doing it, because you just got to keep yourself happy, and that's whatever it is, keep doing it. Do more of it.
thank you.
Do more.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you so much, Barb.
Yes. If anyone's listening who wants to join my class, it's called Find Creative Clarity. You can find out more about it at barbheller.com. You can email me. I'll email you back. Thank you at Evey for just completely like giving yourself up to this work. I think, the world's a much better place because you're not just creating beautiful children's books also, and, making great fashion, but that you're doing this, because who better to do this than like what you just said? You have such a great heart, and it just makes sense, that you would be doing this kind of thing too. And I'm grateful. Think about how many miserable artists there are there that don't ever wind up helping other people other than what their art is, like it's really important to be in service.
Thank you. Well, if
Yes.
anyone needs help getting out of their own way, get in touch with this girl right here.
Okay. Thank you.